Hello everyone. Welcome to our Advanced Excel Data Viz live event. I hope you're all excited. I am super excited. I am really uh, I could barely sleep last night because of the amount of excitement that is there with this event. And yeah, oh boy, I got a good show for you. We'll just I'll be keep chatting for next 2-3 minutes until everybody kinds of jumps in on the stream, and then we will get started. um, so I just want to formally all welcome you to the Advanced Database Masterclass, and I could see that the chat window is buzzing with so many people saying, oh, I am from New Zealand, I'm from Netherlands, I am from Ohio, I am from Denmark, I am from Sweden. And it is really humbling and exciting to have you all here. Such I mean, for me it's an early morning time, at around 5 a.m. in New Zealand, but it could be midnight or it could be late afternoon for wherever you are. And I really appreciate you all tuning you in for this. um, in case you've not already checked, please please check the video description and download a sample data set if you wish to follow along while I am demonstrating and explaining some of the techniques. But it's not necessary that you want to follow. So you may want to just watch and take some notes or soak it in, and then go back and try those ideas, or take them and combine them with something else that you already know to come up with brand new stuff. So whatever works best for you, do that. But if you want a blank data file without any of the chart, so that you also start from the same place as I do, then definitely give it a go. um, Let me read through some of the messages. And so Kit says from Somalia, hey, it's always good to hear from people who are in other parts of the world. Thank you so much for tuning in, Kit. um, Chris is from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Again, I've never been to that place, but it's an amazing thing to see all these people tune in. All right, we now have around 400 people tuned in, and this is Gibibo. Hi from Barcelona. So, hello. Cindy says, I've been following you for many years, Chandu. Thank you so much, Cindy. I really appreciate it. And, it's good to meet you on this live event as well. Uh, Dennis says, raise your hands, whoever from QMBU 310 classes is presented here. uh, Again, some last time I did an event as well, we had some people from a uni class turn up, and it is always humbling. And at the same time, it also kind of puts me a bit more pressure, like, oh my God, I am now also teaching a set of students as well. uh, um, Vivo, you look great, Chendu. Thank you so much. And Krupanand Kada says, I'm from Hyderabad, India. So nice to have you here, Krupanand. And Tony says, good afternoon from Germany. Hey, Tony, good afternoon to you as well. Um, um, All right, let's get started. We have 469 people, and I have got an exciting amount of content for you, and I really can't wait to put it out. Let's. I have got a very short presentation that kind of gives you a teaser preview of what we are going to learn, and set some ground rules for this live event so that everything goes smoothly and successfully. Let me start with that, and then we will jump um, uh, straight into Excel. So, oops, All right, as the name says here, this is our uh, masterclass or live event on advanced data viz with Excel. So, as the name suggests, this is going to be an advanced class. So, I'm not going to go through some of the basic stuff like how do you make the chart or how do you apply some of the formatting or some of those mundane things. I'm assuming that you are either familiar with that. In case you're not familiar with that, I suggest that you watch and take some notes and go back and revise some of the fundamental concepts, like how do you get a column chart or something like that, and then come back and continue that learning. But the intention is to introduce some of the advanced techniques, and make it from there. So I've got 5 charts to talk about today. The number one is a variance chart. This is very useful in many business and real life situations where you are comparing one set of values with another set of values, and you're drawing comparisons and understanding how much variation is there between this and that. This is especially useful in business situations where you want to compare with a plan versus actual, or budget versus target and whatnot. A variance chart is useful. So I'm going to show about one of those variations of variance chart. Um, the second one is year on year changes. You could kind of technically think of this as another kind of variance chart, but this is more useful if you are doing comparisons based on historical performance or whatever. So year on year changes. Um, and just a quick reminder, you will be able to download a full completed file of all these charts, workings, and everything at the end of the stream. Once the stream is over, and in maybe after 30 or 90 minutes, I will upload a file with those things. But for now, the sample data file that I've provided is what you should be using if you want to follow along. The third one is a year on year comparison, but including a bit of dynamic component like I have demonstrated on the screen. And the fourth one is what I call as a pie slider, but this can be kind of showing information where you're taking uh, two kinds of charts and you're making both of them interactive, like I have demonstrated, but you're able to provide more powerful insight and story behind that. And the fifth one is an infographic style chart. This is more on the technique side of it. So I will talk about some of the technique and ideas, showcase 2 or 3 different examples so that you can take them and you can use them straight away, or you can apply them for something else in your work situation by tweaking or adding your own personality to it. Now, before we begin, I just want to quickly remind you about 3 things. Number one, about downloads. Number two, about questions. And number three, about supers. The blank data file, as I mentioned, is already in the video description. So those of you who want to follow along, give it a go. And complete workbook one, the whole file with all the examples, will be available to you after the stream is over. And if you have got any questions on the topics that I'm covering, please post them in the chat window, but start with Q so that I can quickly spot them and try to, let's stay on the topic. As far as questions are concerned, you're more than welcome to banter and talk about things that are going on. But when you are asking questions, let's stick to the charting topic so that I get to help you most for the next 60 or 90 minutes when I'm here. And please don't repeat your questions. This can get a bit tedious for other audience as well as for me as well, because when I'm both explaining and monitoring the stream, sometimes I don't really know whether I have already talked about it or not, and I might go there. So let's please follow these 3 rules. And lastly, it would be really awesome if you can do a bit of support through the super chat or super sticker feature in YouTube. You can select any amount, and you can say a message, or you can send me a question. This goes a long way in supporting the live streams. It's not necessary that you should support this in order to enjoy or watch, but it will be awesome if you want to do that. All right. On that note, let's chart. Get it? uh, okay. So here is my Excel file. Let me have a quick scroll through the chat window and then we will get into the actual data. There seem to be a few people saying about the volume. I'll see if I can actually increase this more. I suppose it's because I'm actually a little away from the mic, but I will move closer to it once we get into Excel. Some people are asking where is the file. I have put a link to the file in the chat window as well. You can, okay, it's gone now, but it is actually in the video description. Even if I put it on the screen, you won't be able to actually grab it. So it's best if you just go to the video description that is right underneath and get it. And oh, this is really big. I got my first super sticker from Cayman's Man for $10. Big thanks, big thanks, Cayman's Man, and hey, cheers to you. All right. I will let's get started with the actual thing. I'll switch to the chat window from time to time just to see the questions um, and see if there is any other issues. But it seems like the audio is all right. And so here is the sample data tab that you must be looking at when you got the download file, but this is the full file. So I'll work on the full file this way. As I mentioned, this is an advanced class, so there is no point going through some of the nuances. So the very first one that we will be working on is variance charts. Variance chart is a general name given to a set of charts where your sole purpose is to understand whether there is any variation between A versus B values, and you want to visualize and explore that. There are many powerful ways to do this. On Chandoo.org itself, I have got like more than 20 different examples of how such variance charts can be made. Here is one I'm presenting now, and we will kind of do similar things on number 2 and number 3 as well, because this tends to be one of the most requested and used business or data analysis charts out there, because we all like to compare. um, um, uh, uh, I just want to say big thanks to the other people who are sending super stickers or super messages. Robert Douglas and ATERREL5595. But we will continue our discussion for now. So here I have got a set of eye fashion products: eye patch, eyelasher, eye shade, eyeliner, etc., etc., and their target and sales values. Again, just randomly made up, but you can use this for your own data. So in the examples 1 and 2, I got small set of data, but in 3 and 4, I've got kind of more of this, so that you can see what happens and how your charting technique may vary when you have got quite a bit more data, and how you should be handling that. So the first step for your variance analysis is you want to calculate the variance. This is simply your actual value minus the target uh, as an absolute value. Now, when you are calculating variance and presenting that information, you may want to either do it at absolute values level, or you can also do it at percentage basis, like what is 160 as a percentage of target. This way you get to understand if there is too much variance with respect to the original target. So I might have $1,000 variance, but if my target is 1 million, then that is really just less than 1% or 0.1% of my target. So I don't really care about that. So that's where the percentage comes in. Here our numbers are all in the same ballpark, so we don't need to think too much about the variance aspect of this. But yeah, that's so we calculate the variance using a very, very simple formula. And once this is done, I quickly select my target and sales values, insert a column or a bar chart. Now, when you are comparing, columns and bar charts are excellent choices. So stick with them uh, as much as possible. So I'll go with a column chart and we will move that there. You can see that my target and actual values, target is blue and actually is the orange values presented here. Now they don't look like this, so we need to kind of work on this. uh, the first thing is my my sales are on this side and my target is on this side. In this particular visual, they're on the other way around. So I'll show you one advanced trick which is very easy to kind of flip this and that over, because whenever you create, they kind of go based on the arrangement of your original data. So here I have target and sales, so that's how they appear on this chart. But I can click on the series that I want to move to the first. And if you look at the formula bar, Excel will show you a series formula. This formula is useless. You cannot write it anywhere. It is only associated with charts. But here is a trick. I can use this series formula to flip things over. So when you select the series, it will show you the number of that series at the corner. So here it is saying that is this series is the second series towards the end. So I can go where it says 2, just select that portion and type 1 there and enter. What this does is it kind of teaches the chart that, hey, I want this series to be number 1. So this will go to the number 1, and whatever other series are there, they will get remapped to number 2, number 3, number 4, like that. So this is an easy way. There is another way as well. You can right click, go to select data and move things around here, but this is actually faster and easier for us, so we could use that. So we did that. Now let's go and quickly apply some colors. I'll select my sales. I will say this shall be that color. Select my target. I will say this needs to be a dull shade of the same color, but it also needs to have an outline which is dotted, sorry, dashed line. So we get kind of similar thing. Now let's go and apply some formatting. We'll select this, press Control 1. Control 1 is the shortcut. This is going to be your best friend as far as working with charts is concerned. Control 1, you can use that and you can format everything in the chart. So just select whatever you are formatting and hit Control 1. So I can format my axis, I can format my grid lines, whatever I'm looking at, select Control 1. This opens the format panel here. Let's quickly set the overlap to 0%. What that does is it will reduce the white space between these two columns to nothing. And let's set the gap width to 100%. That will also minimize the amount of white space there is. All right. I'm going to, for now, take the chart title, move it to this corner there, and set it to bold, increase the font size a bit, and double click and type my title, I fashion sales. And we will set that in a color that's not too dark. Let's get rid of this as well. You can apply some of these other formatting. For example, the vertical axis is too detailed, whereas here it's just 250 apart. So this all depends on what you're presenting, what story you're trying to say, and it just some of these colors. And finally, I'll select all of this, go to format, shape fill, no fill, shape outline, no outline. What this does is it kind of makes this chart a transparent box, so I can move them anywhere, and it is just the chart. There is no white color associated with it in the background. uh, all right. And once this is done, let's go and work on the variance side of things. So we got the top part, now the variance part. So we pick the variance, go to insert another column chart. We'll get this. The first step is you want to position that right underneath the original chart and kind of make it same size as this. This can be tricky and painful when working with Excel. So what you could do is you can select the chart, you can hold down the Alt key and just move it around. That will adjust it. In fact, when I work with charts until they are done, what I always do is I use my view grid line option so that I can see where the grid lines are. This kind of gives me a sense of whether everything is lined up or not. And then once they are done, I turn off the grid lines. But as I said, this is an advanced class, so I assume some of you are familiar with the basic movement and formatting techniques. But this is always good to know. All right, so we'll remove that. First up, let's format this so that the positive variance is in green color and negative variance is in orange color. So we'll click on the columns. I'll go to my fill option, and this is the important one. It's so easy to miss this that you would think you would need to do some sort of conditional two series thing or whatever. But here is the thing: invert if negative. And this appears for both bar charts and column charts. So I can use this to quickly turn positive colors and negative colors into two different variations. So you click on invert if negative, and then you pick the green color. Then it will show you another color option saying, oh, you want green for positive, what do you want for the negative ones? And pick the negative one as well. And that's it. That's all you need. You don't need to do anything else. Instantly your variance is colored it differently depending on what that is. All right, so that's that. Now let's go and fix the formatting issues here as well. We'll say the overlap is irrelevant when you have only one series, but let's just set it to that and make this 50% so that these are a little more thicker than the main bars, because here the attention is on the variance aspect. That's why we kind of went with the muted colors for the top one, so that focus is here and detail is there. um, and then we'll take that axis, we'll delete that, um, and we'll take these guys and quickly set the major unit to 200, and apply similar formatting. Finally, we'll select this. We'll say no shape fill, no outline, and our variance chart is nearly ready. It doesn't look exactly same as how it looks here, but everything is there. Only things that are missing are some of the formatting bells and whistles. Let me have a quick look at the chat window and see what's going on there. Um, we I'm actually super humbled to see so many people giving a supporting super sticker or super chat. And again, big thanks to all of you. It's so we 80 Russell 5595, and Just C for $19.99. Big thanks, just thank you so much for supporting Chandoo.org. And I'm USA 2 has sent $10 super sticker. Again, big thanks. I'm USA 2. Andrew Lena Ross sends 10 Canadian dollars. Big thanks, Andrew Lena Ross. And um, Helen Sain, $10. Thank you so much. And TKB for £10. And Mike Baden as well. Thanks for help. Thanks for your help over the years. Hey, big thanks, Mike. And I hope you're trying to buy me a beer. Big thanks. It's a little too early in the morning, but I'm having a big cup of tea. And thank you so much. And Kim Smith says, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much for learning from me, and I really appreciate that. Let me see if there is any questions. So Hugh asks, could you please zoom in closer on Excel? I will keep that in mind when I'm continuing. But I suspect some of it has got to do with the device that you're using. In any case, I will zoom it in when we are writing formulas or doing a little bit of formatting things, because some of those buttons cannot be zoomed. Like I can zoom the screen things, but the things on the side, they're all very um, you know that's the maximum size you can get without getting a bit too tricky and yeah. And Jaina Vandenbroek asks, I didn't see which chart you selected for variance. These are all just column charts. So we first went and put a column chart for that set of data, and then another column chart for this set of data, and kind of laid them out close to each other so they look good. Um, Gil Bebo sends in 10 euros super sticker. Thank you, Gil. Mike Nuance and $10 super sticker as well. Thank you, Mike. And Linda Spreer for a super sticker as well, and David Cohen for a chat message. Um, and Fern Jones for a super sticker as well. Thank you so much. Thank you. It is really humbling, and it is it, it is awesome to see that kind of community feel here. Thank you so much. And Martha in Florida for a super sticker as well. Thank you. And and T Desai for Canadian $11 sticker. Big thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see. Unable to support. That's all right. As I said, you know, but the I just mentioned that, but again, I'm not really. I don't have any words to say. Thank you so much for all your support. Um, all right. Olayami asks, please show how to insert the speedometer. Yes, I will. I suppose you're talking about this little speedometer here. We'll go and see how to kind of spice up this chart so that it conveys the message, but it doesn't really pop. So we'll add some of those visual design elements, and this is where a lot depends on your individual situation, your taste, um, your audience, and what messages you want to convey and how things go. But that's why I went with different styles for each of the 5 charts so that we can kind of cover a whole set of things. So first up, we will insert a rounded rectangle shape, and just pick the general area of the chart and draw it there. Make the edges not too rounded, just a little bit rounded, so they look smooth and interesting. We'll fill this with one of the lighter colors in your theme, and let's set no outline and right click and send it to back. So what we have done is, because we have removed the background color on both of the charts, they became transparent. So this becomes a holding container for our chart now. All right, so that's done. Let's add these icon style things. There's a couple of different ways to do, but here is my favorite way of doing, which is starting Excel 365. There is built-in support for icons, so you can use Excel's own library of icons to do your visualization and presentation needs. It works in Excel, Word, Outlook, and probably not in Outlook, but I don't know, but definitely in PowerPoint as well. So I use this all the time. In case you do not have an icon library like that, or you're using a different version of Excel, you're not still all that bad. You can download a free icon image from internet. There's many sites where you can download free sets of icons and use them. So let's go and get some of the images that will go work. So for sales, a shopping cart image might work well, and for variance, that kind of a speedometer might work well. So I'll go and search for this. I'll say cart, um, click on that, and then um, I have no idea what this is called, but we will have to kind of go and visually explore that. Probably, maybe there's an automotive thing, or let's just see. Yes, that's what it is. What is it called? whatever it is. So that's the thing. So you can kind of multi-select. Right now I've already clicked that one, so I can click this, and when you insert, you will insert both of them as it says here, and we get both icons. Let's move them to their respective positions, and let's size this. Right, the icons, while they're good, they kind of come in bare bones format, which means they usually just come in black color, but you can kind of switch the colors. You can select the icon, and then you can go to graphics format, and you can pick a color that will work for you. I'm going to select the white color, and for this I will stick with a dark black color. And then for that, I will just say insert a circle, click on it, I'll get a perfect circle, and hold down the control or shift key to resize it as a circle and move it around. Let's just go with a dark shade of that, and then send it backwards. Right, it just takes a bit of tweaking around until you get your nice little shopping cart inside a circle. You may want to mute down the colors a bit depending on what is happening. Once that is done, will we'll leave that here. I wanted to kind of show that green and orangey shade, just to go with the theme of what's happening there. You can insert a partial circle, and just tweak that. Okay, um, it's a bit painful to do it while you're explaining, but you can do it. And then copy paste it, so you got both of them. And then this one, we will flip it horizontal, so you get this sided one. Move them closer together and select this side. Let's just make that um, a dull orange, and then select that one. Let's just make that this. So once you are happy with your multicolored circle, select that and group them. This is one way. There's another technique that you could use, which is, I believe that's what I used there. Um, you can copy paste this and select that and go to gradient fill, um, and just make it like a two-stop gradient fill. Select the first stop, make it orange, select the second stop and make it green. So we got both colors. Now move the gradient position to 50%. Same with this, select on that and move it to 50%. So what we want is, we want orange color to stop at 50%, green color to start at 50%. So it will get you two shaded gradient, and then just angle it depending on how you want that. So like that, and then move it and send it to back. I think it went all the way back. We'll bring it forward by one layer, and this chart needs to be behind that. So this is how I have done it. Again, there's heaps of different techniques. Some of them have got nothing to do with charting. This is all with a little bit of design and working with various shapes and layering them and all of that. But this technique is super powerful, right? You can use this in presentations, Word, and preparing some of the visual material. I believe that it's not just enough to know the skill of making charts, but also to understand how do I lay them out, how do I pick my colors, and how do I do all of this. That is all a very important skill as well, and there is no right or wrong way of doing that. So this is where you may want to experiment and test out few different things with your audience to see what is working best. All right, that's the first one. I think we have spent way too much on this time on this, but I'll go on and talk about year on year changes. Let me quickly pop out to the chat window to see what's happening there. um, so supplements and diets asks, please show if speedometer needle moves with the value. No, it doesn't. It might seem like that, but it doesn't really move. That's not something that in general, as a technique, I don't recommend speedometer charts. But if you want to make a movable speedometer needle chart, or simply speedometer chart. You can always search on my site. There is an article, actually a couple of them, where we talked about that. It's an interesting charting technique, and worth exploring and understanding and using it. um, but yeah, let's move on. I'll hide that. I didn't realize there's a message coming up all the time. Okay, the second one is year on year changes. So this is, you could think of this technically as another variance chart, but here I put, this is why I went with a different color theme and different output, everything, just so that we could again get a sense of how to lay out and present data. So here we have same data set, but now I calculated percentage change, which is my current value by previous value minus 1, formatted as a percentage. So once this is all there, then this is my original data. That's my percentage change. Let's go and calculate the overall values as well, which is nothing but your sum of the original values for both years and the percentage change. So let's start making this chart. We'll select that. We will insert a column chart. Not really, that's not what I had in mind. No, we'll just select the March 21 data, not the 2020 data, and insert a column chart. So we get this. Maybe I will move this and put it there. All right, I forgot one important thing in the previous chart, so maybe I'll switch back quickly. Once you have set up everything the way you want, um, you still need to do one more thing, which is you want to pick all of the items and group them, right? That way, when you move the chart, everything moves together. Otherwise, if you move this, that chart goes out of sync with the rest of them. So you need to group them. There are different ways to do that, but my favorite way of doing this is I go to find and select and click on select objects option. What this does is, in fact, I like it so much that I have it on my quick access toolbar as well. It will turn your mouse pointer into a cursor. Normally, your Excel mouse pointer is a plus sign. So it will turn it into a cursor, and you can kind of click and drag and select everything in that area. So once you select, right click, group. So now this is a group of objects, and you can move and manipulate them all in one go. So this way, your visuals, your narrative, your popping materials like icons and stuff, everything stays together and works like one. Okay, moving on with our year on year changes. We got our March 21 values. um, Let me you can press escape to go back to normal cursor mode. We'll delete that. We will add our own titles and stuff like that. So first up, what I want to do is, or maybe we'll select the chart and we will turn it into a different format, but I don't want to waste time. So I can go to my chart design and pick one of the visual designs that come with charts. Some of these are a bit over the top and not that recommended, but others are pretty good. Like, this is what I used here. It gives you an instant styling on the chart with that nice little gradient fill and shadow effect, and everything is added instantly, so you don't need to waste your time doing this. So this is what I've done. Let's go and select data and add the labels as well. So those are done. And then what I want to now show is, for each value in March 21, I want to show a visual indicator on top to say whether that has gone up or down in comparison with the last year's data. So let's do that. For this, we have already calculated the percentage. Now I will add a dummy value. This dummy can be any number. You put number in the first cell and all other cells link to it. This way, if you are not happy with that dummy value, you can change it. You might think, why would I be not happy with a dummy value? Because here our numbers are in the volume of few hundred, so going up to one, uh, 950. So a 150 dummy will work, but if you have values in millions, then this number needs to be in hundreds of thousands in order to be visible. So once you have the dummy, select that, Control C, and click on the chart, Control V. This is how you can add a new value to the chart without going through select data option. So another trick that you can apply right away. Now I noticed the mistake of my ways, which is I've selected a column chart, whereas I should have selected stacked column chart. No worries, I can select my chart, I can go to insert and click on the stacked chart option right away. This is how you can quickly change between chart types without going through any other screens. Select the chart, insert, column chart. So now I got dummy on the top. Select the dummy and no outline, no fill. So what happens is we now have an invisible box sitting on top of my original column chart. Of course, it is invisible, but the shadow effect is still coming through. We'll leave that for now. And then once this is there, we'll add a new set of item called label. And here I'm just using a simple if formula to take my percentage, and if the percentage is greater than 0, I want an up arrow and text of that value as 0%, right? Text of something as 0%, what that does is it will take the value and it will turn it into a percentage format. This is because even though it says here 20%, the real value is 0.2. So if you refer to it directly in a formula, you will get 0.2 rather than 20%. So that's why you use text formulas to turn them into text values. But how do you get the up arrow? This is actually very simple and it is very useful as well. You can open the double quotes and press Windows and dot key. Works in Windows 10, which is pretty much what everybody uses nowadays. This will open up an emoji key typing pad in your Windows computer, and you can select any icon from here, any emojis from here. I just went with the symbol option, clicked on arrow, and picked my arrow from there. Right? But if you're not happy with that, you could use an emoji as well. There is many emojis that you can apply and they will all work in the chart right away. So for example, we could use that, um, and that will work as well. So I'll select that and then that will come up. Guess what? When you use emoji, the color and the emoji style will all appear in the chart as well. So this is a great way to enhance your charts and add a little bit of flavor to it. I went with the arrow because the arrows have more support in older versions of Excel, but emoji works great as well. All right, so this is done. Then same for the down arrow as well. Let's use the emoji down arrow. And yeah, the only problem with the emoji option is these are red arrows, whereas up is usually good for you. So you may want to have it in green color, but unfortunately, there's not much variation there. And once you have that, you drag it down and then the labels will come through for everything. So once these labels are there, you select the dummy series, click on plus button and add data labels. So this will show the 150 value as a label for everything. Now what I want is I want that 150 to be that percentage. So click on the labels, press Control 1 again, which is going to be your very best friend shortcut from here on. Click on value from cells, and you can use this value from cells in any version of Excel. So since 2013, and then it will give you a range selection option. Just say I want these instead as my labels. So they will come up. It will show both 20% and 150. Just disable the actual value option. So it's now only showing that. You might understand why I didn't use emoji now, because everything looks red and red is usually associated with a little bit of bad things in business reporting, whereas green is good. So you want to be mindful when you are using a red up arrow. So once that is there, that's pretty much what that chart is. But we will get rid of that shadow effect as well. We'll select those series, go to the shadow option, and then say there should not be any shadow on that. And your year on year comparison is done. We will go and add a chart title now. Select the chart title, move it to the left, keep it left aligned, and just double click and then say I fashion sales. Right. So that's my title. I want to add a caption as well, March 2020 versus 2021. So we'll just drag this down. There's more white space now. Select the chart and insert a text box shape inside the chart. This is how you can add pretty much anything to a chart you want. And then, oops, that box is gone now. It's a bit painful working with these shapes when you have them, but you don't really have any content in them. For some reason, Excel seems to delete them. And we'll say March 2020 versus 2021. Okay. So that's that. There is actually one extra trick, but I'm not going to explore that in depth in the class. Instead, I will leave that to you as a puzzle to figure out. If you see here, the original chart, it has a downwards 9% thing, but that appears in red color. Now notice what happens when I change the values. If I make the overall variance from year on year positive by, for example, taking one of these sales and making them 2000, then this actually becomes green up arrow. It's not really becoming green, so I see what's happening now. Let's use the up arrow thing here. Yep, so it becomes a green up arrow, or I think the emoji is the one that is breaking. As I said, down arrow. So the color of the arrow will actually change depending on what my variance is. So 560, it's kind of a dull red color. And then 1500, suddenly we are in positive territory. So my variance arrow color changes. So this is something that I'm going to leave you as a challenge to figure out how that is done. And, go and try that. All right. Time to move on to the next one, but let me quickly pop over to the chat window to see what is going on there. Joss Miller sends in Danish Crown 50. Big thanks, Joseph Miller, for your support and love. And and Jayant Kumar Joshi says, "Oh, now I got what is the dummy number." Yes, this is like some of these things. When you see the final outcome, you don't realize that there is actually a lot of background drama going on. And once you know, that's the beauty of all of this. Amrita asks, what formula did you use for label column? I used a mix of if and text formulas. You can probably pause and go back in the video and explore that. But in case you have trouble, just wait until end of the stream and I'll provide a full, this exact file to you for download so you can go and get it. How is the box shape from chart gone? As I said, it adds a shadow effect around that. You just have to click on the series and we are now selecting the label, but you can select the dummy series, go to the effects option and then just set the shadow to be no shadow, and that's pretty much what it is. Cherian says shares a big tip for making a quick column chart. Big thanks, Cherian. I kind of use some shortcuts, but I'm also a mouse person. So I'm very happy as long as my hand is on keyboard. I use the shortcut, but if my other hand is on the mouse, I'll just tend to use that because there are so many things on the screen where you will have to anyway reach for the mouse. So I tend to mix and balance, and that way I don't need to also remember things. But big thanks for that Alt F1 shortcut, Cherian. So is the insert icon option part of Office 365 beta? No, it is not. we have Office 365 at a client location, and they're not on beta, they're on proper channel, and they do have the insert icon option as well. So you may want to check, maybe your IT department or the people who control which features get pushed to the end user may have disabled or changed the way that comes out. But I believe the insert icon has been kind of mainstream for a while now. Maybe I'm wrong. um, so, all right, there's some other questions. Some of them are going into the zone of, oh, sorry, I've already shown that. Mm, like Akash says, can we use slicers within charts if we make table as a pivot? Yes, Akash, that's pretty much what we're going to see. Next one there. Um, and D says, please use Q before your question. Big thanks, D. This is something that I've showed early on in the presentation. Type a Q before your question so that I know what to look for, because there's so many things going on, and it kind of makes very hard. Um, all right, let's go. Some of those questions that you're asking, I'm reading them, but they are coming up in the presentation. All right, this is my third one, which is year-on-year changes slicer. So let me quickly demonstrate. When I have more data, I want to do visual comparison. Sometimes, like, I have my sales by individual store locations in Wellington, Auckland, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, and making one chart for about 35 rows of data is going to be very tricky and very hard to manage. So this is where having some sort of interactive effects is very useful. Like as you see here, not only this adds another layer of complexity and visualization and storytelling to your audience, but this gives the power to your end user. So sometimes we as analysts make assumptions and prepare what we want like this, but our audience may want to play with things and understand and use the data themselves. So having that kind of interaction effects is very useful. That's what we will concentrate on 3 and 4, adding that visual interactive storytelling part to our outputs. So here I got a slicer based storytelling, and this is here I'm using a form control. Both of them have their own merits and advantages and disadvantages, so I'll cover both. Again, as you could see, the visual styling here is distinctly different from the number 1 and 2, so that you can see some more ideas. So the very first thing is, how do we get the interaction? Because some of these things you already know how to do them. So you got your data. I set up my data as a table. In the sample file that I provided, this is the same data that we are using for 3 and 4. For 4, we are only using one of the columns. So if you want to follow along, and just select your data, any cell, insert a pivot table. I've already done that. This is my pivot table. And in the pivot table, just put in product and both of your data columns. So March 20 and 21, some of the values there into the pivot table. This is not a pivot table tutorial, so I'm not going into the detail of how you create the pivot table, but this is very, very simple anyway. And once that is done, right click on the store or whichever column that you want to add as interaction and add it as a slicer. That's also something that I've done. So because the slicer part has a little bit of trick to it, maybe I'll just repeat these steps. Insert pivot table. We'll insert it. Oops, I think I existing worksheet, and we will insert it here. Right, so this is coming up, and then add product, add this, add that, and then right click, add as a slicer. So we get everything. Now, by definition, a slicer is like a visual filter. I can click on anything and you can see the values are changing. While pivot tables work beautifully, they are terrible when it comes to formatting and presentation. So in most of my visualizations or charts, what I do is I use pivot table to do the uplifting of data calculations and stuff. And then I use regular cells to present and visualize things so that we can overcome the limitations. So this is how that is done. So this pivot table gives me everything I need. That slicer gives me the interaction ability. Now we take all of this, Control C, go here, right click and paste as a link. So what this does is it kind of gives me a snapshot of the values, but they're still linked to this. So I change something, these values change. Let's put some color here so you can quickly spot them, right? So I can click on something and my values change. So I don't need to look at pivot table anymore. Let's move this closer to here. Now, if somebody is not looking at the pivot table and they're just looking at this and that, they think clicking here changes them. But in return, this is actually changed by a pivot table that is off screen. So once this is there, you can also add the all item, which is nothing but a copy of these guys. And quickly, we don't actually need to do this, right? What we are doing is we want only that much and a percentage variance from here. So we'll delete this. We only have that. And then here we'll do a calculation. We'll say this divided by the previous month value. So which is coming from my J17 minus 1. So I'll get my percentage variance as well. Quickly apply percentage formatting and then drag it down. And here as well, this divided by, I believe that's J24 minus 1. We'll get our variance values as well. And then once they're there, we'll just select these numbers, go to home, conditional formatting, and quickly put a data bar around it so that the value is visualized as a bar chart right inside the cell. Okay. Now here is a very good tip for you, especially if you're visualizing items like this. You notice that these are actually sorted in alphabetical order, whereas here they are sorted by the value, right? 890 goes on the top, 320 goes at the bottom. But if I go to Brisbane, I'll see a different product, and that, so iWash is here. For Melbourne, iShade is the best product. So how do you get that? And this is actually a better way of presenting data, because most of the time we are interested in this and we are supporting that information with the name. So we tend to read this and then go here. So you want to add that layer of sophistication to your visuals, and it is very easy to do with pivot tables. All you have to do is click on the value that you want to apply sort order, right click, sort by largest to smallest. What this does is it applies a sort order, but this sort order is a dynamic sort order. So whenever your slicer changes, it will recalculate and apply the sorting again so that it is always sorted on that column. Okay, that's a very good trick that you can use in isolation like this, or for something else altogether outside the box. So once this is done, let's go here and apply another set of conditional formatting data bars. We'll apply the default ones, and then we will go and manage the rule, select, edit this rule, and then we will set a number based condition. My minimum bar can be -1 and maximum can be +1. And when there is a positive change, I want green color, and for negative value, I want orange color. So this way you will be able to set that and click OK, apply, and you'll get a nice little variance chart. Even if it is more than 100%, it will stop at 100 and it'll go up to there. So that here I have not done that, but here I've applied those techniques. And then finally select all of this, press Ctrl+1. Let's quickly apply no fill, select some borders and draw horizontal borders around it. So we will get something like this. Now, here is one more trick for you, which is, you notice these data bars, the biggest one goes up to the 100% of the cell, whereas here it doesn't. It kind of leaves a little bit room so that you can read those labels better. You can select all of this, manage the rule, and instead of leaving it to automatic, I can say go from 0, and this number you can set it to manual. You can even link it to a formula. I'll leave the formula part, that's not very hard to figure out, and let's just say some number like 1000. So what happens is, irrespective of what this value is, the full cell will be thought of as 1000. So 890 will go up to 89% of that. So this will give some white space. This works all well and good for our situation. But because slicers, you can select 2 or 3 items at a time, you can click and drag, then everything kind of goes beyond 1000 and it stops. So this is where you may want to think of a formula based rule. So one way of doing that is manage rules. I said I don't want to show it, but now we kind of walked into it. So we say formula, and then we'll simply say maximum of. Again, there is no value in learning this technique in isolation, but when you see it, use it like that, you will think, oh, this is good. I could probably use it somewhere else as well. So we'll say get the maximum value of that. In fact, you could even argue that because the maximum value is always in Q17, we don't need all of that. We'll simply use this. This is because our pivot is sorted times 1.25. So it'll always be the maximum value times 1.25, which will kind of leave the white space irrespective of what your selection is. Again, I'm not really sure if this is a technique that you find useful, but I find it useful, especially when I'm making a dashboard or something. So I thought I'll quickly demo that. Okay, so we are nearly there. But how do you get your slicer to look like that instead of a big box like this? This is where you can use slicer styles. I have created a custom style for my slicer. So you select a slicer. By default, it's going to be a big blue box. But you can go and apply a different color scheme. I was not happy with either of them, so I went with a duplicate style, and I created that, which kind of takes away the border around it and makes the boxes like that. Once this is there, then I selected, right click, go to slicer settings, and disabled the display header option so that there's no header. And then on the cell in the top, I just said pick a city so that people know what to pick. And we'll get a nice little interactive chart driven by a pivot table off screen. So that's the number 3. Now I'm seriously aware that I'm doing extremely bad on time, but we still have more than 500 people watching. So I'm happy to talk and I'll continue discussion. In case you've got another commitment or you want to go, feel free to drop out, and you can always come back to the stream page, the YouTube link, and watch the video from here on. But if you have got nothing else to do, or if you have things that are important to do but not as important as making good looking charts, then stick around. All right, let me see what's going on in the chat window very quickly. There's quite a few support super stickers and chats. Peter Narante says, thank you, Chandoo. Big thanks to you, Peter, as well, for your awesome support and love. Let me Shailesh Patwardhan says thanks as well. Thank you, Shailesh. All right, let's see. PL Chan asks, can we just use values from cell rather than create a dummy value? Yes, Peter, that's sorry, PL, that's what I have actually done. If you went to this, the dummy is not really 150. It's kind of like this cell is the input cell. Here I put 150, but all of these cells kind of refer to the cell above. So I can change this. I can make this 300. And the dummy will change for all of them. So it's kind of cheat, but you can take this and put it somewhere else as well, and it will work. Um, Um, Giant says round function will control the decimal systematically, isn't it? It does, but when it comes to displaying in the charts, you still need to use the text formula technique. It's a very important technique, and you must understand and use that for your work with respect to controlling the display on the charts in a fine and improved manner. Um, Sally asks, where is the donate link? Thank you so much, Sally, for considering that. There's actually a dollar button underneath the chat window. See that, and tap on it in case you want to support. Uh, Peter asks, will this be available afterwards? It will be for a brief amount of time. You will understand why when we come to the end of this session. But yes, it is going to be available. I really enjoy talking and sharing information. That's why I do this. So yes, this is going to be available for a while. Um, all right, let's move on and look at the pie slider. Now, I'm going to increase the speed on this a little bit, just because we have kind of gone past the 60-minute time that I mentally set for this. Again, as I said, I have no issues talking for another hour. It's just that folks probably would want to drop out or do things at home or work. So I think it's a good idea to wrap up. But here, instead of going through the whole reconstruction, I will kind of do a reverse engineering and explain some of the moving components and how they are playing a role. Big shout out to Angela Deering for a super sticker, and Sally Washington for the super sticker as well. Thank you, Sally and Angela, for your love and support. Mm, and so here, let's get full screen. What I have here is kind of like a weird combo chart wherein we are presenting two things, and they kind of weave the story together. This is actually based on one of the very old articles that I published on my site. I'm not really trying to show off or anything, but it's just that this is called a recipe for donut bar chart. Let me just open this up. You see the date on this? It's published on September 30, 2009. So it's like 12-year-old technique here. And this is what I've shown back at that time. For my advanced video thing, I thought, oh, what charting technique should I cover? And I thought, oh, this would be an excellent thing to talk about, because it shows how you can tell the story by combining two different things, but at the same time, it gives folks a whole bunch of ideas that they can take and use them in isolation or in conjunction with something else. And uh, yeah, it was one of my favorite things to build. Obviously, people, uh, not everybody likes donuts pie charts, because they tend to be a little more dense and sometimes hard to interpret. But it gives a little bit of flavor and interesting variation to the regular storytelling. So I thought that's what I will explore. Because this is actually an article on my site, you can kind of, even if you don't understand the full video, you can always go back to that page and read through that to understand the basic technique. It kind of explains with Excel 2007 variation, but the screenshots are all like pretty neutral, so you can use it. Anyhow, here I got my fancy 2021 version of the donut pie slider. Really. And Yeah, basically say the same thing. So what I've done here is, there's 3 4 different moving things. One is the story on the top, which tells me what happened to the product that I highlighted. iClean makes up 13% of all sales and ranks 6 with 2470 units sold. So instead of leaving it to the audience to figure out what is going on with what they selected, this is how you want to approach it. You want to tell the story, you want to lay out the critical information up front and give your audience a chance to um, understand what's happening. This creates much more compelling visuals, in my opinion. So that's why that title goes on the top, and then you're using the control at the bottom to click and select what you want. And based on what is highlighted, the composition of the individual store sales for that particular product is shown as a nice little pie or a donut chart on the top. So as you could see, the whole thing drives from that little thing here. This is called a scroll bar control. You can insert it from the developer ribbon. Now, in case you do not see the developer ribbon, you can right click on any other ribbon, go to customize the ribbon, and from here, just tick the developer ribbon and okay. Okay, it's a one-time thing. You do it once and it kind of sticks with your Excel forever. So once you have the developer ribbon, click on insert, click on the scroll bar. So you're using the form control scroll bar, and just to draw a scroll bar, you draw a scroll bar horizontally, you'll get horizontal one. If you make it vertical, you'll get a vertical scroll bar. So this is how you can add a little bit of user interaction elements as well, other than the slicer. And and you can kind of play with this. Nothing happens now, but you can right click, go to format control. In fact, you don't need to do that. You can select that, press Control 1, which will also open the format option. And from here, you can say this is linked to, let's just say, that cell. And it goes up from 1 to, we got 7 products. So we'll say 7 and click OK. So what happens is every time you change this, that cell changes. So if you have a formula that is linked to that cell, the formula will also change because the value is changing. So this is how the basic working of any interactive chart where people use form controls. From here on, it's all your creativity. How you take that and mash it up with everything else that you know really determines how things will work for you. So this is the basic part of it. We just select and that changes. So this is how I've done it. I've used my uh, cell here to link it up there. You can see that that changes. So once that is changing, I can use my index formula to get the fourth element of the products, and I'll get that there. This is actually some of you have attended my session last month on dynamic arrays, the live stream. In case you've not, you could always watch that stream, or you can check my channel for the dynamic arrays videos, or my website for information. But I'm using heavy dose of them in this set to kind of show how they can all be playing a role in calculations and whatnot. So for the each I said store, but this is product. For each product, what is the total sales? We are using sum ifs formula to calculate. So here I'm not using pivot tables, I'm using the regular formulas to list the product, calculate the total sales. And if the particular product is being selected by the form control, I get the selected values here. If I select, I'll show the number. Otherwise, I'm saying NA, meaning not applicable. So you see that right now we picked eyeliner, so it will be same for here. So once that is there, we simply insert a regular column chart. We'll get something like this, and we'll take these ones. Let's make them dull color, like something like that, and select this one. And that's already prominent orange color. You can live with that. You can change it to a different color, but we'll apply a overlap of 100%. So what that means is this set of columns will sit right on top of those columns. So we'll say overlap 100%. So now it kind of looks like one of these columns is getting highlighted and moving. In reality, there's two sets of columns. One is behind another, and that creates that. And let's set the gap to 50%. And finally, select the orange column. Even though you're only selecting one, you're really selecting the whole thing. And go to effects, shadow, and just add a nice little shadow around it so that it looks like it is floating and moving on top of the others. This is how that thing is done. And then you can add labels. One of them has label on the top, the others have labels in the side, and that's pretty much how that part is done. So we'll move that away from the screen. So once this is done, we need another set of calculations by store. How much eyeliner we have sold by store. So this is where, again, another set of sum ifs formulas will give you those numbers. We'll select all of this. We will insert the good old donut chart. Quickly tweak the donut chart whole size to maybe 40% or something. Add labels and make this box transparent by having no fill, no outline. And then just take this and move it on top of that. That's pretty much it. Get rid of all your labels and legend and whatnot, and you got your donut column slider thingy. How do we get the title? Well, title requires a little bit of working as well. You want to find out which product is selected, what is the overall sales of all products across all stores, what is the sales of my selected product, what percentage does it make up, and what is the rank of that using the rank formula. So once all of these numbers are there, it's a simple matter of writing a sentence that takes up parts of this. So we say eyeliner has 2570 sales, giving 13.5% of total sales and ranks 4. So that's how that sentence is constructed, by using a bunch of ampersands and if formulas and whatnot. And this is where the text will help. If I don't use text, what happens is it'll read like eyeliner makes up 0.135333349 of sales. So you want to turn that into a percentage. So that's the text formula for you. And yeah, I know I went very quick on this one, but I hope I'm not making it sound like this is too complicated or nothing like that. It's just that I want to be sensible with my timing as well. And and anyway, you will get a copy of this file, and there is a detailed article on my site that is 12 years old that explains how this technique is useful and interesting. Let's talk a little bit more about the visual layering part of it. Once all of this is done, then what I did is I put a box, rounded rectangle, that is the one. So I put that, and then for this rounded rectangle, so when you insert any shape, let's go and insert one here, right? Let's quickly so we got our nice little rounded rectangle, and I can select edit text, and I can type whatever I want. Alternatively, you can select this box, you can click on formula bar and then say equal to and get the text from a cell. What this does is it kind of shows the text of that formula in the box. But because this is a box, it has more options for formatting than an individual cell. And in an individual cell, you got limited options. You can make it bold, highlight, and change the fonts, and that's all. But here, you have even more options. So this is one more way of enhancing the storytelling things with your data. So you can select this. I can go and say, this should be in that font, 20 points. It should be center aligned on the top, and it needs to, for example, the text fill, instead of just having one color, you can even pick a gradient color, and that adds a little bit personality to it, and all of that, right? So this is how I've done. I didn't use gradient fills or anything, but I just used that. And so that's the first thing. Then I added a dotted line underneath, put my pie chart, put my this thing, placed my slider underneath, and kind of said that I didn't group them, but that's the last step before you want to make it ready for your audience. So this is the pie slider, or the donut slider thingy. You don't have to use a pie or donut chart. You could use, for example, another column chart or a bar chart or whatever you want, and it will all work very well. All right, let's quickly turn back into the chat area and see what's happening here. Um, So Sherry says, Chandoo, love your site and all you offer. This class is awesome. Thank you so much, Sherry. Thanks for your big cheer and support. I really appreciate it. Anil sends in a super sticker and follows up with a message saying, thank you, Chandoo. Been a fan for almost a decade. Big thank you, Anil. I know it's not easy to cheer and support someone for 10 years. So I really appreciate and thank you for all you have done. And Maria sends in a super sticker as well. Thank you, Maria. Faisal says no sound. Now that is scary to hear. I hope it's not an issue on my end, mate, but yeah, probably just refresh the page. James asks in an excellent question, what is the difference between form controls and ActiveX controls? Now, Excel doesn't make it easy for us to understand the difference between these two things by putting them close together and making them look exactly same. But there is a critical difference between those two. If you use a form control, your file is still technically just an Excel file, so anyone can download and open it. Whereas if you use an ActiveX control, your file will henceforward be thought of as a VBA style file. So when somebody else opens the ActiveX file, they will get a warning saying there is some active content in this, just as the macros warning. So that's the number one. Number two is ActiveX controls have so much more options than the form control, so you could really use them to add some things other than what is generally displayed. So, for example, you could embed a PowerPoint presentation into Excel, or all sorts of different things. For general purpose of data analysis, visualization, dashboarding, and whatnot, I always just use the form controls. But there is some place where you may want to consider using ActiveX controls as well. And sends in a super sticker. Thank you so much, Anne. Hugh Graham says, thank you for being an indispensable resource over many years. Big thanks, Hugh. Thank you so much. I really enjoy doing this, like talking about Excel, talking about data, talking and sharing the information. This is something that I get excited about, and I hope I can continue to do this for quite a bit more time. Thank you. And Karen says, please show again the shortcut for accessing emojis for inserting in charts. Well, technically, you're not really inserting them into the chart, but you put them in a cell which is used for labels or titles or whatever, and they will show up on the chart. So, for example, here, my eyeliner statement, let me just add another emoji at the end. You go to the text part, it needs to be in double quotes. If it is a formula, if it is a simple cell, you can just type it. So go to the place in your formula and press Windows and dot key. So hold down the Windows key and dot key together, and that will trigger the emoji keypad. And from here, you can select whatever emoji you want. I'll select the love heart emoji, and that shows up beautifully inside the chart or the text boxes. Here inside the formula or the actual spreadsheet cells, it shows up in a blank format like that. So this doesn't really tell you that it's going to be in that red colored thing, but when it is going to a shape or a chart, it will come up in its own full glory. There is actually another excellent example on my site, where I kind of demonstrated this and showed um, how to make a budget versus actual chart. Um, you can see this here. There's a thumbs up and thumbs down based on budget versus actual. So you could think of this as a variation of our number one example from today, which is variance chart. So this is another variance of that. And I'll make a note of that link in my notepad here. So when the stream ends, I will put that in the video description anyway. So that's Karen. Akash sends in a super sticker as well. Big thanks, Akash. And Eben sends a super sticker as well. Thank you so much, Eben. Thank you so for your support and love. And Yuan with Targo sends in a super sticker as well. I hope I didn't pronounce your name wrong there. Thank you so much, Yuan. All right. Let's go and finish this up with the fifth one, which is on infographics. And this is where we are now talking about how do I take some information and make it look more like the infographic style that you see in newspapers and other social media or whatever. I'm not a huge supporter of infographic style per se, but as I said, there is no point having an opinion just for the sake of it. You have to understand and use them in the context. So I find that there is a place and use for everything, and infographics also have their own thing as well. So here I have got some same eye fashion sales, but broken down by male versus female. And you want to show, let's just say, a man symbol or a woman symbol for the values. How do we do that? And how do you get a rounded column chart? This could be useful for something else. And how do you show some sort of silly symbol or icon on top? This all really just a matter of understanding how to get them and how to tweak them. So there may be some steps that you need to do, and you have to backtrack or go back and adjust things just to get what you want. So let's start by uh, taking the male and female data, insert a bar chart. All right. Time for a joke. I know it's almost an hour and a half into the stream. In fact, I was planning to do this joke very early on, but we never walked into it. So now we are walking. What did a bartender say to the bar chart when it walked into the bar? Thinking? He said, "Why are you upside down?" Well, the reason is, whenever you create a bar chart, you see how eye patch is the product on the top and eye clean is at the bottom. In the bar chart, eye clean is at the top and eye patch is at the bottom. So this is a fairly annoying thing for most of us when we work with data. We see that when we make a chart, things will be in the same order as they are in the data, but for bar charts, they're always upside down. So how do you fix that? Very quickly, click on the axis, press Control 1 to format the axis, and then say categories in reverse order. This will kind of realign the chart. So whatever is in the number one row in your data is in the number one item in the bar chart as well. So we make that. Once this is done, what we want is, we don't want to see this blue and orange colors. Instead, we would like to see a man or woman symbols here. Okay, so how do you get the symbols? As I said, you can use any sources. I've been increasingly using the icons source in Excel because it's quite native and easy for us to um, just incorporate without having to think, where do I get these icons? Are they copyright free and or not? So let's use this. Let's find person, and let's just pick this and that. Okay, you could use anything else as well. So we get them, right? You might think, oh, you already got them there. Why are you not using them, Chandu? Well, there is a reason, which is why I'm doing it like this. So hold down Shift and select both and kind of resize them so that they're not too big. And then let's make the man blue color. Let's make the woman orange color. And click on the man symbol, Control C, copy it. Click on the bars that corresponds to man symbol and Control V, paste it. Let me repeat this whole thing again. Select this, Control C, select that, Control V. So now you get a man symbol pasted here, and then that symbol gets stretched depending on how big this value is. Okay, not terribly useful. In fact, it kind of looks ugly, if you're honest, but that's that. Now let's go and tweak this a little bit. You can select the bars, go to the fill bucket option, and from here you can say, I'll just move this here so we can kind of see everything together. It is already set to picture or texture fill, but the way it is doing it is stretching it. Instead, what we want is, we want to stack it. So it will stack now. See what happened? Stretch, one symbol gets stretched, stack, it will stack automatically based on how much wide that is. Okay, now there is the problem. You notice that there's too much white space between the men, whereas here in the original chart that I made, they're all kind of holding hands together, whereas this one is not. So why do you think that is happening? Well, the reason why it is happening is, if you select the shape, even though you might think this is only a small rectangle, there is actually a whole box around it. So when you copy paste, Excel thinks, I'm going to put white space to respect that box boundary as well. That's not good. So we'll have to fix that. I'm going to take a sip of hot water now because my throat is getting a little itchy, but All right, so how do we get this to be a narrow shaped one? And again, I thought this might be an interesting technique in itself for those of you who work with icons and shapes imported from elsewhere. So let's make this big. You can go to graphics format. Once you got your icon, you can kind of convert that into a shape using that button there. So convert. What this does is it will say, oh, you just want the actual shape, so I'll give you that. And this is actually giving you a shape now. You see that this is actually a tall rectangle now rather than a big square. And you can right click and ungroup it, and you will see that this comprises two shapes. One is the body, the other is the head. All right, so depending on what you want, you may want to use them together, or you can further adjust their sizes and whatnot, and work with them. So let's try this. So once we have that, I can say Control C, Control V, and now the men are holding their hands, touching each other. Let's do the same for female shape as well. Convert to shape, Control C, Control V, and paint bucket, stack. And that's pretty much it. You can then go and adjust the gap width. Let's make it 50%, so that there's more pronounced way these things come up. Get rid of the legend because it's self-explanatory now, and add your own title and whatnot, and you get your nice little basic infographic here. What I have also done is, instead of leaving the men and women as they are, I kind of went and added a shape outline and changed the colors a little bit down, I think, so that it gets a nice little outline effect as well. Here it has dull blue color with a darker blue line, and dull orange color with the darker orange line. So it's all up to you how you want to tweak it. Let me talk a little bit about the title itself. The title is chart title, but then what I did is I added a nice little small box in the corner just to set this apart from the rest of the material. um, Sometimes you see Economist or some other publications, they use that kind of a notation on the title just to set them apart, and that's what that is. All right, the second technique for infographic, which is how do I get my column chart to have a nice little rounded top on that. There is no specific value to this. I mean, you may want to use it elsewhere in some other context, or even just like that as a novelty factor. So you got your sales. Instead of just making a, because you might think, oh, now I know how to do that, I can make this chart. I can take a shape, this one, and draw what I want, make it nice and round. Control C, Control V. What this does is it kinds of makes that, but these are uh, like they get stretched, so it doesn't really look that pretty, right? The top ones have too much stretching going on, and the bottom one here has kind of more even roundedness. So this is not going to work. And here you need to again use our dummy technique from earlier. So instead of sales, you break them into top and bottom. Top will be, let's just say 150, and again link it up so you can tweak this. And bottom is whatever left, so 150 and 800. And then you make a chart with that. Let's just quickly move the top to the top, two. And then once this is there, the bottom will be your green color, and the top will be that shape. Control C, Control V. So you'll get nice little more even rounding. It will still get stretched, but because this thing is always 150, it will be stretched uniformly for all of them, and it will work. And you will get a nice little rounded effect on the top. Again, use it with discretion and caution. The third one, how do you get an eye shape? Instead of this thing, you put an icon or something else in the middle, and group them together and paste. Now there is a problem with that, which is, I'll show you if I revert to that and I copy, Control C, Control V. I get it, But because this is a grouped object of both rounded rectangle and an eye shape, it has more space than that box. So there's white space on the top and bottom, and it kind of gets that white space in the middle. So this was interesting for me to figure out. What you could do is, again, I suppose some of the older versions of Excel do not support this, but the new versions all do. After stretching, you can kind of offset as well. I'll show you here. You can say, remove that there. So we are stretching, and then you can say offset top and bottom. So for example, I want the bottom to kind of move down. So I'm going to negatively offset that. You see what's happening here? As I negatively adjust that, it kind of goes and sits snugly. So you may have to adjust this a bit until you get a desired result. And they're both touching each other. So this is something that you can use again to your advantage, depending on what you're filling and how it works. There's heaps of other techniques you can do. You can fill with a pattern, you can use gradient and whatnot. And when you start to combine all of these in weird and fun ways, you might end up with something that is both beautiful or something that is just distracting and plainly ugly. So you have to use these with caution and try different things to see what is working for your audience, why some things are working, some things are not, and go with that. So that's the number 5. We have now successfully gone up to 90 minutes and still 450 people are watching. I mean, I am completely amazed and um, just I mean, I'm talking all this while, but I'm also speechless when it comes to the amount of time and appreciation you have shown to stick around and learn and understand and support me with all these lovely stickers and chat messages that you're sending. Kumar sends in a message with 200 rupees. Big thanks, Kumar. Thank you so much. Um, and Luke Lurker sends in 140 ZAR. Thank you so much for your super sticker. Peter Kind sends in 50 crowns. Thank you, Peter. um, some of you may know, especially those who have been following me for a while, but I did live in Denmark and Sweden for a year at the very start of my blog, 2009. So it's always good to have people from that side of the world turn up for my events and cheer for me and support for me. Thank you so much, Peter. Uh, and John T says, thanks, Chandoo. Great info as always. Big thanks, John. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching and learning. Shariz says, I have only one thing to say. You're my inspiration to learn MS Excel. Big thanks, Shariz. Thank you so much for taking the inspiration, learning. That really makes my day. Like somebody says, I am learning and doing better at my work in my life because what you're doing, and that is that is really. I guess that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So thank you. I updated example file you'll be posting. In updated example file you'll be posting, that would be a good place to put the links for your existing articles on various techniques and tabs they apply to. Yes, Ron, I will put that in the file. And Akash Patel says it's called people graph as add-in. Well, now you don't have to use the add-in. You can just make it right out of the box with this technique, and it gives you more flexibility as well. But of course, you can always use some of the add-ins too. All right, let's go and quickly talk about one more thing. Like how they talk about it in Apple presentations every time. When you think it's done, there's always one more thing, right? There is actually one more thing. When I started researching for this live stream, I'm planning to, by the way, do a live stream every last week of every month for good part of this year. It does take quite a bit of effort and time to prepare and put together materials and do. And then you also got your life to live, and there's other things and website to maintain and various other things. But I am enjoying this now, so I'll continue to do this for maybe another 3 or 4 months. So when I started researching for this particular topic, I in fact shortlisted more than 15 techniques, but then I had to kind of cut down to five, just to manage the 60 to 90-minute time frame that I'm set for myself. So I thought, let me talk about five different things that will show a variation of techniques and provide a, a canvas for me to talk about different things. So that's what I did. But then I thought, oh, what about these other 10 powerful ideas? What am I going to do with them? So I thought, maybe I should package them and offer them as a course if anybody is interested in learning them. I do cover some of these techniques in my online classes, but I thought, uh, uh, people who want to just learn charting and storytelling, there is maybe some demand and interest for that. So that's why I want to announce the advanced data viz with Excel class as part of my live stream. In that class you will get these five charts, but there's 10 more that I'm going to cover, plus a whole bunch of tips and tricks on how to work with charts faster and smarter. This is going to be a paid program, but it's not going to be as expensive as some of the other online classes that I do. It's more like a compact class that just covers the charting and storytelling part of the data analysis. So if you are interested in that, I suggest you to visit the chandoo.org/DVC. It's a short for data visualization course. Uh, as a page, I put that in the chat window now, but I will add a link to that in the video description as well, and then it will be there. Right now the course is under design, so you will sign up for the waiting list, and whenever it's ready I will let you know. In yeah, if you are on my email newsletter or on my YouTube channel, chances are you will hear about it again. But that's more on my research material. So yeah, let me quickly share the slide on that. So that, as I said, introducing the advanced database class, 15 charts, self-paced. So I'll email the workbooks and videos to you, and you just watch them. And it's not for beginners. So if people, you watch this class and you're not flummoxed or confused at any point, you will definitely love that. But we will focus on storytelling, practice files, and tips and tricks. And that's the link, chandoo.org/dvc. So check it out, and drop your email address in case you are looking for a course that kind of goes just like this live stream, but goes into greater detail on some of these specific techniques. Then just definitely check it out and watch it. All right, now time for me to go back to the chat window and see what questions you have. Feel free to ask questions on anything that we covered so far, and I'll be hanging around for next 15-20 minutes to answer that. And again, big thanks to everyone who showed up for the event, put in messages, likes and shares, or super chats and super stickers, and showed me how much you love. Big thanks for all that you do. And it's a pleasure talking about Excel and data to you at whatever time it is for you, but it's almost early morning for me now, and I'm enjoying that. Becca says thanks with I recommend you to all my Excel buddies. Love getting your tips and techniques. Thank you so much, Becca. Thank you for telling your friends and mates about what I do, and asking them to learn from me. Thank you. Um, there are some questions that are not on topic. I'm not going to address them until we finish with the regular topic related questions. So I'll excuse me. James Record says, thanks for the awesome class, Chandu. Your Excel knowledge and ability to communicate is truly amazing. Many thanks. Thank you so much, James. Thanks for your lovely feedback and appreciation. Sumit asks, how can you better visualize drop in sales when the reason codes range in 20 to 25? All right. So when I demonstrate some techniques, I have the advantage of cherry picking my data. So I always show things that kind of are not too overwhelming, but the real world problems are a bit trickier, right? You might have 300 products instead of 7, or you may have variance where there is too much going on. Then how do you visualize? but it's not all that bad. You just have to think, okay, now we know the technique. How do I present this with my complex or varied data? So I'll show you briefly one example, but there is many ways in which you can do this. So um, every time you are presenting data where there is more than 5 or 10 values, you want to think about tables rather than charts. Use tables and maybe use lightweight charting options like conditional formatting or spark lines to bring things to life. So for example, here is a demo of Commonwealth Games 2018 medal standings. Now, as you probably know, Commonwealth Games, hundreds of countries participate, and there's three different categories of medals. So there is a lot of data. How do you visualize and present that? So this is what I have done. You can, I will add a link to this as well to my notes, and I will put that. The reason why I have not put all these links up front is because I don't know exactly what questions are going to come up. So um, uh, but you can see that with that kind of a thing, the top thing is actually a slicer formatted to look like it's part of the cell structure, and these are all data bars, and you select and conditional formatting applied on that and highlighting that and all of that. So this is how you want to present such complex data. Simple data, regular charts. Complex data, you're thinking either tables or scatter plots or more interactive options. There is more articles on my site which kind of go into this theme in a bit more detail, and especially useful for survey data or large multiple data sets. This is how you want to visualize them. Becca asks, will you be emailing us a link to the recording for this session? Yes, Becca, but you can also bookmark the YouTube page where you're watching this video. And if you have not subscribed, you can either subscribe or at least like or favorite that video. That way it stays in your history and you can always go back and watch it. That's the link that I would be sending you. But yeah, that's another way of getting that. Karen says, gotta get back to work. Thanks as always. I learned as much from you and improved my skills and work greatly. Thank you, Karen, for tuning in. Um, Vernon asks, do you have any sessions to teach importing multiple tables from statements in PDF format? Uh, yes, I do. You can use Power Query for that. There's a good video on Power Query on my channel. Check it out. And if you still have questions, feel free to drop a comment there. My collection says, awesome work. Really appreciate. Learned a lot from you over the years. Thank you. Thank you, my collection. Thanks for that love and appreciation. And Matt Ferguson sends in a super sticker as well. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for your love. Uh, Maria says, this month's stream is great. Thanks a million. Thank you, Maria. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all supposedly next month on a different topic. If you are a member of the YouTube channel, I usually run a survey in the second or third week of the month asking which topic works best. But I'll pick something that kind of resonates with the good audience, and then we'll go with that next month. Steve says a big thanks with the super chat as well. Thank you, Steve. When I say it's first time and I'm impressed, thank you, Vinay. Thank you. Thank you so much and welcome. And I'll see you again maybe in some other live stream or maybe a little more on my website. All right. Jayant Kumar says, you're simply awesome. Thank you, Jayant Kumar. Thank you so much for taking time to learn. And I appreciate that. This is a good one. Sumit says, any idea if Microsoft will ever release XLOOKUP in 2019? Excel, Microsoft Office 2019. Now, I put a joke on my Twitter just yesterday. Joke goes like this: knock, knock. Then Excel 2016 says, who's there? And then on the other side, the answer comes XLOOKUP. And then Excel 2016 says, hash name question mark. There's no point explaining the joke, but that's the error message that you get right now if you use XLOOKUP in your older versions of Excel, because it doesn't recognize that as a formula or a name. And I don't think Microsoft will release XLOOKUP or dynamic arrays for older versions of Excel. They've made it pretty clear that most of these features will now go and live in Office 365. They might do like an add-in or something. At least that's the impression that I get so far from them. So yeah, sorry. Danny says, time for dinner in Turkey. Thank you so much, Dennis, for tuning in, and enjoy your dinner. Bruce says, your perfect voice for this. Some people will drive you nuts after 90 minutes. I could listen to you indefinitely. Thank you, Bruce. But I could see, you can see what I'm doing here, right? I'm drinking a bit of hot water every now and then now because my throat is already itching with all the talking for nonstop. You can have a conversation for 10 hours at a time, but if you are just monologuing, then it gets a little uh, hard. But thank you so much. Sammy says from Mumbai, India. Hello, Sammy. Lots of live streaming going of my favorite topics of data science. I got hooked by this channel and the learning. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, Sammy. I feel like YouTube and the live streaming is an awesome way to learn and connect with your community and get real time response to your questions and answers. That's why the first time I did, I was quite hesitant to do. Like I was like, oh, maybe will I like this? Would I enjoy it, or would it feel like too much stress? But now I'm enjoying. But I'm also mindful that as it kind of grows, it might get into a point where I may not be able to answer all the questions. But as long as we have a good vibe and group going on, it is fun to do. Thank you so much for watching. So Amrita says, will all these be easier on Power BI? I mean, yes and no. Power BI is a platform where you have much more freedom to tell compelling visual stories, but it has its own baggage. Some of the charts and formatting that we have done are incredibly difficult or almost impossible to get at that finesse in Power BI. But at the same time, I'm not kind of like super loyal to either Excel or Power BI alone. In fact, I use both of them all the time. And as an analyst, I think that's the right mindset to have. You want to think, what tools do I have at my disposal, and how do I take and combine and use them in a fashion so that I can tell my stories, I can convince my audience, I can get my say in the meeting rooms. So use whatever works for you. If you think Power BI will provide the needs for you, just use it. No need to feel stressed that, oh, maybe I'm abandoning Excel. It's not like either of them will feel bad for you. You open them, they respond, and they'll help you. So yeah, if you think Power BI is working for you, just use it. Manjeet says, any idea when you will have a video showing on Power Automate and Power Apps? I'm also waiting, Manjeet. I have been playing a little bit with Power Automate, but I'm not super confident on it yet. I'll come up with some good examples, and maybe I'll have a video talking about that sometime. Mary sends in a super sticker as well. Thank you, Mary, and thanks for your support. Chris Dresden says, your depth of subject matter knowledge never fails to amaze me. I'm retired now, but I still had to catch your video. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. I know it's not an easy thing to watch a live stream when you no longer work. You might be thinking, oh, I might as well sleep in or watch a movie on Netflix. But thank you so much for sticking with me and learning and sending your appreciation. Thank you. Kim has a question. Did you mention why the video will be available only for a short term? Uh, as you can see at the end of the session, I talked about the one more thing, which is on my advanced data viz class. Since I'm planning to make these 5 techniques as part of the class, I thought it would be fair to not keep it the video online after some time. It's not like I'm hiding anything. Most of these techniques I've talked about on my blog already. But yeah, the stream will be available for some time for sure. After that, once my class is online, I may actually make it unlisted just to uh, encourage people to go for the class and get more. But yeah, you are here, you've learned, and if you missed it, or you have some part where you want to go and replay, just always go back to the the stream page or the YouTube page, and you can replay it pretty much as soon as I finish talking. Will you share the final Excel templates that you worked on? Yes, Salima, I will share the file in the video description. Once the whole thing is done, it will probably be available for download in about 60 to 90 minutes, soon after I finish and go have a break. This is steel glass in NZ. We moved in from New Zealand, so from India to New Zealand, so we carried a lot of our steel utensils as well, because we kind of like, I grew up drinking in steel glass, so that's pretty much what I do. Chris Dresnan sends in a super sticker as well. Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks for your love and support. And Vikas says, awesome, Chandoo, you're great. I learned a lot, which I will definitely use in my work. By the way, I like your hairstyle. Thank you so much, Vikas. I really feel good to be having, uh, full flowing hairstyle, and I enjoy it. All right. Any more questions? Feel free to drop them in the comments, but I will save a copy. And then I will put that in the video description shortly after we finish. DJBWA asks, can you tell me how to change the cursor to select graphs? Yes. So normal cursor, this plus button, you can go to find and select and click on select objects. There's two techniques. In fact, I might demonstrate them while people go through the charts. Select objects, it will change your pointer to the mouse pointer, and you can kind of drag and select everything. It will lock your mouse pointer to selection mode. So just like how you do things in PowerPoint or other visual applications, and you can move them, you can size them and whatnot. And to unlock, just press escape, and that'll kind of go back to your plus pointer mode. But let's say you got a whole bunch of objects and you would like to do something to a set of objects or something, then you can use the selection pane. This will open a panel which will list out all the objects on your page, current worksheet tab. And from here, you can manage them, you can group them, you can adjust their visual order and everything. So for example, I have my group 24, which is this chart, the replica that we created, and I no longer want to see it. I can click on the eye icon there, and it will hide it, the whole thing from the screen. It's still there, it's not shown. I can see this is another group. That group internally has two more groups, and I can kind of manage it like that and see what those are. Individually, I can turn off things. So for example, that picture I don't want to see anymore, which is my website logo, by the way. Or this chart I no longer want to see. You can do that. And that's those two. Since I use them quite often, I have actually added selection pane to my quick access toolbar and the select object tool to my quick access toolbar. You can do that by right click and then again right click on this thing and then say add to quick access toolbar. It's grayed out for me because I've already added it, but you can add it as well. Paul Stokes says, hope to be invited to your next live event. Been a blast and have a good day, Mr. Chandoo. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Paul. Yes, of course, if you are on the email newsletter on my website, you will hear from it. Otherwise, if you're part of the YouTube channel member, you will see a notification or it'll turn up in your stream whenever there is a upcoming live stream. This is a personal question. Which watch do you use? Smartwatch. I'm using the Samsung Galaxy smartwatch. I really like it, and yeah. So Milinda asks, you showed scroll bar, some data within bars, and one was outside the bar. How did you do that? I think you probably need to go and watch that segment of the video, because probably what you're referring to is how did the scroll bar control the chart. So if that's the question, then just pause, go back, watch that, and then come back. When I finish the stream, I'll do a bit of tidy up. I'll add timestamps as well to the video, so you know exactly where everything is, and go and watch it as well. Yeah, I think that's probably the question. Even Mohan asks the same thing: how to link the control button with the chart on your fourth slide. Yeah, just go back and watch the video. You will get it. Eric Link says, thanks, Chandoo, for this again inspiring masterclass. Hope to be able to join next month. Have a nice weekend. I am going to supermarket before Corona evening clock and after that to cook. Big thanks, Eric. Thanks for tuning in and cheering for me. All right. Any more questions? Feel free to drop them. And James says, how do I see this video again? Well, you're already watching it on YouTube, so bookmark the YouTube link, either favorite the video or join the channel if you want, and that way it will stay in your history. In fact, you probably don't even need to do anything. You can go to YouTube and look at your history, and it will have the link there. But if you got an email from YouTube or me saying the event is beginning, then you know where that link is. Click on that again, you will watch the whole thing, or you can speed up and watch the portions that you missed. All right. I think that went really well. I'm super glad that there was no hiccups and everything worked beautifully. There's one more question. Amit Negi says, unable to sort values in pivot when layout is in tabular format. Um, I suppose you meant unable to sort or show. Uh, you can. You will have to pick the right thing and then sort. If there are two levels or three levels in pivot, then the sorting would work in a weird way. You will have to know exactly what you're sorting, because it will sort on the subtotal rather than the actual value or something like that. So just play with that and it'll work. Mohan says, you are cool and at times sound like MS Dhoni. Oh, well, that is a compliment. That's, I think, the high note. I can stop talking now. Thank you. Ron says, thanks, Chandu. Good session. Keep up the good work. Big thanks, Ron. Thanks for sticking around all this while. 2 hours is not a short time, and we still have 260 people watching. So I am deeply humbled and honored to be talking and sharing Excel knowledge with you all for such a long time. Um, Anika says, I've learned a lot of tricks and increased my Excel knowledge. Thanks a lot. Keep doing this great job. Thank you, Anika. Thanks for your love and support. And I will do this again. Um, Jan says, thanks and goodbye. Thanks, Jan, and enjoy your rest of the evening and weekend. All right. I think on that note, I will conclude now. Big thanks to everyone for tuning in and enjoying it, enjoying the session. I hope you found it all valuable and useful, and I will see you all again in another live stream at the end of April, on some other exciting topic. And if you got a good suggestion for the topic for our next live stream, feel free to drop it in our either this video's comments or somewhere else on the YouTube channel, and I will consider that, and I will set up the next stream. Thank you so much. And as I mentioned earlier, the file will be uploaded with full examples, and it'll be available for you to download, and you can kind of see the whole thing. And in case you want to learn advanced data with techniques for Excel, do consider the advanced data with uh, course. I have put a link to that in the video chat section already once, but we'll add that. So just go and drop your email address there, and that will kind of put you on the list, and I will let you know once the course is available. Thank you so much, and enjoy your rest of the weekend, and see you again some other time. Oh, one more question. I think how many monitors you're using now? I'm using two monitors. Last stream I had used only one, but then we were actually planning to buy another monitor anyway because Joe has been working from home more and more. So the office room is getting a bit cramped with both of us fighting for the one monitor. So I decided, let's get one more. And so she uses that. But when I do a live stream, I got two monitors so I can monitor and control it better. Yes, thank you all, and I think that's it for now. And big thanks and big love to all of you for hanging around, watching the video, learning from me, and cheering me and sharing the comments and chats and messages, and telling me that you're enjoying it. Thank you, and see you all in another one. Bye bye.